The Job Simulator Iceberg Explained. Hello everyone, Flaming Cow here, and today I'll be going over the Job Simulator Iceberg. This iceberg was made by Noob Edits on Reddit, so shout out to you if you're watching this. For those of you who have forgotten the golden year of 2016, Job Simulator was a virtual reality video game in which you play as a human in a world dominated by robots, simulating what it would have been like working a job back in the day. The game allows you to play as 4 different jobs: a chef, an office worker, a mechanic, and a store clerk. The game was massively successful and significantly contributed to the popularity of virtual reality. The game would later get a sequel in 2019 called Vacation Simulator. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's jump into the video. 4 jobs. As I mentioned earlier, Job Simulator allows you to play 4 different jobs: a chef, an office worker, a mechanic, and a store clerk. Jobbot. Jobbot is the face of the game. He's always there, guiding us through every job and informing us about the history of our job. Human. Throughout the game, we are referred to as human by various different bots. By the looks of things, we seem to be the only human in this world of robots. Bots. Bots are the NPCs we see throughout the world. They are depicted as old-fashioned floating computer monitors. Vacation Simulator. As I said in the beginning, Job Simulator would get a sequel called Vacation Simulator, in which you are simulating what it would have been like to go on vacation as a human back in the day. In the game, you get to experience different vacation-like experiences like camping, building castles, and a bunch of other stuff. Tempbot. Tempbot is a separate robot with a blue screen that is always seen holding a cup of coffee and speaking in a fast and high-pitched tone. This character only appears during the Infinite Overtime game mode. Speaking of which, Infinite Overtime is a separate game mode in which you play the 4 base jobs except
at night.
Unlike the regular versions of these jobs, it doesn't stop. Every job you're given is completely random and doesn't follow a base story. Small Human Mode. So in the lobby, under the selection display is a panel with a lever titled Small Human Mode. When you pull it, you become shorter. If you're normal height, that is. If you're on the shorter side, then you'll become taller. This feature is in the game for players who are short and may have difficulty reaching certain objects in the game. Mods. If you complete every single job in Job Simulator, then you will unlock modifiers. There are 3 different kinds of modifiers you can apply to your game. Dollhouse, which makes everything including your hands tiny. Bouncy mode, which makes all objects extremely bouncy. And low gravity mode, which makes everything low gravity. Captain Source. Captain Source is a pretty popular YouTuber known for his gaming videos, of which some involve Job Simulator. His Job Simulator videos are up there with some of his most viewed videos, so yeah, got pretty popular off Job Sim. BanditBot. BanditBot is a character that appears in every single job except for Gourmet Chef. He appears in the office worker level as an employee you can hire, then again in mechanic as a customer, and most notably, he appears in store clerk as he robs the store of their sweet cheddar. He also returned in Vacation Simulator. Alchemy Labs. Alchemy Labs is the studio behind Job Simulator and Vacation Simulator. Other than Job Simulator, they are also known for the Rick and Morty VR game that they made. Achievements. Yeah, this game has achievements. Not much to it. Spectator Mode. Spectator Mode is a mode in Job Simulator that allows people, most likely content creators, to create different shots while playing the game. Spectator Mode allows you to have a third-person camera and also allows you to reduce head bobbing after recording. Brain and Hand in OW. So in the office worker level, there exists a photocopier which allows you to clone any item. Amongst these items, you are able to clone your hands and your brain. Pretty weird. Rotten food / throwing up. In the game, if you consume rotten foods, then you will throw up. It's pretty funny actually. Poison Little Timmy. During the gourmet chef job, you are instructed to cook a raw pizza with applesauce for a child who is allergic to both warmth, yes, warmth, and tomatoes. However, if you end up serving him tomato sauce, well, nothing really happens. He just spits it out. I Am Krusty. I Am Krusty is yet another gaming YouTuber well known for his job simulator videos. The Human Uprising of 2027. During the game, Jobbot will mention the Human Uprising of 2027. What exactly was the Human Uprising of 2027? I don't know. It isn't really spoken a lot of in the game, and surprisingly there isn't a lot of discussions of it online, but based on what I could find, humans tried to revolt against androids but ended up losing and potentially going extinct. Shredding Jobbot Toy. In the office worker level, you can find a small Jobbot plushie in your office that will speak if you pull the string on the back. Later on in the level, BossBot will tell you that you have to shred some objects in your cubicle, and if you shred the Jobbot plush, well, this happens.
I'm a computer.
It's actually pretty funny. Magic Burrito. So what I think this entry is referring to is the exit burrito that you need to eat if you want to go back to the lobby. Areas outside of the map. Just like any other game, Job Simulator has areas you can't explore by normal means. Now, there isn't a lot of interesting stuff outside of these maps. The most interesting thing I can think of would be Jobbot's office in the store clerk level. Job Museum. The lobby of Job Simulator is set in the Job Museum, which displays how early humans would have worked. Jobbot plush. Yes, you can get your own Jobbot plush identical to the one in the office worker level. Not sure why it's this low on the iceberg. Model Human Song. So in the Gourmet Chef level of the game, you can find a CD with the song Model Human, which is made by the studio that made Job Simulator. You can find the full song on YouTube as well if you're interested. Also, there's a different song called Job Tonight you can find in the Infinite Overtime version of the Gourmet Chef level. Bot 10110. Bot 10110 is a character mentioned in the Office Worker level of the game. In this part of the game, Bot 10110 is retiring, and we have to give him a present for his retirement party. Job/TempBot in Vacation Simulator. So at the very end of Vacation Simulator, our best pal Jobbot makes an appearance. And same goes for TempBot, except he's much earlier in the game. Early footage. There exists a couple screenshots of the early development of Job Simulator, like this IndieDB page from 2 months before the game was released. In these screenshots, we can see that the game looked a lot shinier and smoother but less graphically enhanced. Also, we can see maps like Office Worker, which have barely changed, Store Clerk, which looks a bit different but still looks like the one we got in game, and then Gourmet Chef, which looks unrecognizable. There is also this early footage from Alchemy, which shows how the game would have performed and what Jobbot would have looked like. Speaking of old Jobbot, this is what he would have looked like. A much bigger and older looking computer. Also, this is what he would have sounded like.
Thank you, human. May I have another?
Credits. So since Job Simulator doesn't really have an ending, there really isn't a set spot for credits to roll. However, when you bring up the briefcase that allows you to exit back to the lobby, you can see an option to sit through credits. If you choose to do this, you get an achievement, which despite being probably one of the easiest achievements to get in the game, still only has a 10% achievement rate. Blue paint fluid in AM. So, I am really confused by what this entry is supposed to mean. Google gives me next to nothing. The only thing I can think of is the fact that there is no blue headlight fluid in the mechanic level. Other than that, I have no clue. Ghost of Overtime. The Ghost of Overtime is a glitch in the Infinite Overtime level of Office Worker, in which a bot will just stand there and stay there, staring at you, menacingly, refusing to go away. Model human song theory. So I couldn't find an actual theory involving just the model human song. However, there is another theory that mentions model human and its creepy lyrics. Some lyrics of the song include, "Do you think you're alive, model human? Do you fear for your life, model human? Do you feel lonely, being the only human in the simulation of what it is to work a job?" According to this Reddit user, this may be seen as the bots threatening us, or by telling us we have to behave in order to be seen as a good model. JobBot's phone number. So this is a pretty extensive Easter egg that runs throughout the whole game. So at the very start of the game, JobBot hands you his phone number, which is this. If you go into Office Worker and punch that into the phone, you will get a message in Morse code, which translates to "jobs don't grow on trees," followed by a bunch of numbers. If you go into the Gourmet Chef level, you will notice a small tree with fruit on it. Each fruit corresponds to a certain number. Picking out the fruit in the order of the numbers will spawn a clipboard with a bunch of numbers and letters on it. If we convert that to binary, then we get 324 bits, which we then put into an 18 by 18 matrix, which will then be converted into a bitmap. In this bitmap, we get a series of letters. The first letter is a color and the last letter is a direction. Then we go into the mechanic, in which we use the paint-o-matic to paint the car in these orders. Once we've done that, we get a price tag with the following numbers and letters on it. This translates to this, which is yet another set of directions. If we head into the store clerk level and punch those directions into the cash register in that order, then we will receive a newspaper with a code on it. Put this into a MIDI file, then we get these series of numbers. Once you've completed 100% of the game, you head back to the lobby and input the cartridges into this order. Once you've done that, then you will receive a postcard from JobBot from Vacation Island, alongside a letter from VacationBot, teasing Vacation Simulator. Whew! That was a lot to go through. Job/TempBot are killers. The only evidence I could find on JobBot being a killer is the line, "If you do a good job, you might even be able to keep your employment." And as for TempBot, I found a couple videos, but no real evidence. Job Simulator Roblox. Yeah, there is a Roblox version of Job Simulator that you can find on Roblox. Not much else to it. Secret mods. So I really couldn't find anything on secret mods other than just the regular modifiers you get in the game. And that was the Job Simulator Iceberg. I hope you all enjoyed it, and if you did, then consider subscribing. If not, then the ghost of overtime will haunt you forever. Once again, shout out to Noob Edits for creating the Iceberg, and I'll see you guys later. Bye bye!
Open eye, feel the waves cut through me. Hypnotized by the sounds I'm breathing in.